Good morning, evening, afternoon to all our listeners across the globe. Welcome to In12D. We're in season 2, episode 11, and we have a special guest with us, Avianna Castro. I'm here in the studio with my co-host, Susie. My apologies, Susie Vaughn. Susie, you want to introduce our guest?
I'd love to. Hi, Ramsey, and very welcome to everybody who's joining us live and whoever's listening to this recording on your favorite podcast. I say it every week, it goes from strength to strength. Every guest is kind of enlightening and bringing us along on these incredible journeys. But today, what a journey we're going on, guys. So I would say fasten your seatbelts for this one. Avianna Castro is a friend of mine. She was over here in Ireland. We did a retreat together at one stage. She's an amazing woman. I've been following her journey earnestly for a long time. This episode is called When Light Meets Truth, Everything Changes. And I took that quote from Avianna's website, actually. She's a visionary entrepreneur. She's an intuitive soul strategist. She works with people who are already really focused on their journey and who are progressing. And what she does is she really helps them realize their potential. But her journey to this point is fascinating. And I think we should get straight into it. So thank you so much for saying yes, Avianna, and welcome to In12D.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So exciting. Like every week we start off because our premise or our tagline here is, ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And I think you only barely fall into the ordinary people, in my view anyway. So I think you've been living an extraordinary life for a long time. So when was it, Avianna, that you kind of got chucked out of your life as a career, I guess, as an architect and in the corporate sector, and kind of how did that happen? Was it a quick soft landing, or was it a gradual progression? How did that go?
That's a whole podcast in itself. Like it's fascinating. But I've had this. I'm going to start like when I've been 3. So it started at a really, really young age of having some premonitions and some, seeing things, that were not so normal, which I thought was quite normal. And thank goodness my parents, really embraced the visions that I was having. And so it started at a really young age. And then fast forward, I just, I kept the visions to myself. It's not something that I spoke about, except to my parents. And then it was just a matter of fact, just like a conversation. So as I got older and I started sharing, some things with some people, they're like, what are you talking about? Seeing people that have been deceased or, having these premonitions that things would happen before they would happen. And then I realized that I was kind of, alone on a deserted island, that I was then turned into this girl who, what's wrong with you? And then I suppressed it for quite some time. Went to college, did all of the stuff, graduated, did all the things. And I ended up working for in architecture, working at a design firm. And so interestingly enough, I was working for the road commission during the summer of my sophomore and junior year in college. And I was, like the flag girls, like, the for the traffic and all of the things. And they were short shifted this day. And they asked me if I would jump on one of those big tractors. And I was a yes girl. And I was mowing ditches. Well, what ended up happening is the tractor tipped. I went to jump off the other side. My leg got caught in the wheel, the big tractors, fractured my femur in half. So literally didn't go back to college that year. So, breaking the femur, the largest bone in your leg was not something that was, planned. Let's just put it that way. So, my parents had an opportunity at that point to either put me in a body cast or opt for surgery to put, the metal in, the rod and the screws. They opted for the rod and the screws. So fast forward 7 surgeries later, wow. I ended up being allergic to the metal that was put in. So they had to take it all out. And in those surgeries, and after finally graduating, college, I went to this psychic fair here locally. And because I was kind of off of work, right? So I was just kind of doing the thing. And so I went to one of these, and I was talking to the main person, and they were doing a gallery event, which is where they have people come in and do these readings for a group. And I was talking to her, and she was, I guess, intrigued with my background, because I at the time I didn't know she was interviewing me, and so I just went to her for a reading. And so she's like, "Hey, do you want to sit on the panel?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, it'll be fun." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, this is just like mind blowing. So I sat on the panel, and stuff just started coming. And then I was sharing, and then literally the next day she hired me, and I was doing these things on the weekends. And so then it got to be so much that I ended up leaving the corporate world, and I started my own business on the side. So that's how it started.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So did you feel like you'd arrived home? Did things start to feel like right for you then, when you really stopped suppressing that gift and really
Yeah.
allowed the information
Yeah.
to flow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was more like I found a community, that
Mhm.
that was open, to these types of things, and I didn't have to keep it quiet any longer. But that's a thing, that's a thing where you just suppress something for so long, because you're the weird one, or you're the crazy one. Now, I'm 52. I don't really care, about that anymore. But it's taken several years for me to be comfortable with it, because it's just not something that you
Mm.
broadcast. Even when I go on, events and things like that, or I like to do a lot of, not host retreats. I've done that, but go to retreats, and I kind of keep quiet. Like, I just, I'm not there to be, in the spotlight. I want to receive being a retreat attendee also. But yeah, it's now it's part of my life.
Wow. And I know that we like our connection is through the meditation and the McLean Meditation Institute as well.
Yes.
And I've been watching your journey, because you really went through so many different sort of maybe initiations, or I don't know, reincarnations is the word that's coming to me, and that's the wrong word. But it's like you just kept, like, a new chapter would keep
Mhm.
appearing. You had a huge health and wellness journey then as well, didn't you?
Yes.
If you want to briefly just touch on that too, because that's really inspirational, I think.
Yeah, through all of the energy work and doing all the readings and things like that, I was very busy. And so, like, literally I was doing readings anywhere from 8 to 10 a day. So I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I was like eating on the fly, and then obviously energetic protection, you have as a buffer, happened with adding a significant amount of weight. So on my body, the temple that we get to experience in this lifetime. And so, like, I heard it was like a dream that had come through, that said, Avianna, it's time for you to pull back and get healthy, because there was a knowing inside of me that if I didn't do that, that I would have some serious health issues in the future. And so that's one thing, connecting in the spirit realm, is that, I'm a pretty good student, to the spirit realm. So if I hear this nudge, I'm absolutely going to pay attention. And so, like, I did, I paid attention. I got connected to a friend who was a coach at the time, and I went on a journey, and I lost 100. I like to say released, right? I released 115 pounds, because I don't want to find those 115 pounds back. Um,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
yeah, I released the weight, and it took me about 13 months. And it's just part of my journey now. Like, movement's part of my journey. So just like meditation is a part of my daily practice, movement is part of my daily practice. I eat very clean. Because now in the journey that I'm in, it's extended, right? Which we'll talk about. You have to be mindful of what you eat, and connected to the earth and nature and all of the things. So I'm very cognizant of it, and it's been life-changing because, also too, it's the cleaner that you eat, the stronger your connection is, to everything. So yeah.
Let me ask you, you did something else, didn't you? You went on a different journey. Curiosity, I guess, took you to Costa Rica. Would you like to share quickly your story about that?
Yeah. So in 2020, COVID has did so many amazing things for a lot of people. And what COVID did for me is not only did it allow me, my health journey started then, but also my medicine journey started there. I was gifted a week at all-inclusive ayahuasca center in Costa Rica, and it was a hard no for me. Like I was not, just like Susie, being in the meditation world, that's enough. My connection, doing readings and all of the things, that's enough. Like I really looked at, psychedelics as like voodoo. Like it was not something that I was going to entertain. I had, I'm a pretty clean vessel. I've never smoked anything, not even a cigarette. Like I'm not a big pharmaceutical girl. Like it was just like, no, like I don't need to do that. I've had a pretty good life. And then here this opportunity comes to me, and it was a gift. I was not going. I did not pay the money on my own to go. It was a gift. And I'm like, oh goodness. Like, I guess we're going to Costa Rica to experience ayahuasca. And that was so because of COVID, so that was in June of 2020, I received the gift. And then we couldn't go out of the country. So the opportunity that I did go there was March of 2021. And that was my first of many experiences with ayahuasca.
Let me ask you a question, because in my experience, usually the plant medicine calls you. From the story that I just heard, you weren't called. Now, do you believe that you were not called, or were you resisting the call and the call came through someone else? Because it's very important to identify where it's coming from.
Yes, that is a fantastic question. So I was resisting the call because the person, the couple that had gifted this amazing experience to me, the medicine ayahuasca told them that Avianna needs to come do the medicine. They relayed the message to me. And then literally, I surrendered to go. So I was so resistant that I could not hear the call. However, now after going there and, having the medicine, I now realize that the call to get healthy was actually the medicine preparing my body, because I had released that 70 pounds before I even went to Costa Rica. And so she maneuvered, the medicine is a feminine energy. She maneuvered in a way where I could receive her, but indirectly, until I opened the channel to receive directly from her. So yes, 5,000% you receive a call. It may not be directly from her initially, like for me, because it was too much of a hard no for me.
I have a couple of more questions. I know this is an interesting topic, at least for me for now, and I'm sure the listeners will be on it too. Just one quick one, like here. Oh, I don't know how to do this. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining. I know she's been she's also a follower of our show. Um, when you went to do your or to take or to sit with the plant medicine, because each one has a different experience, from your point of view or from your experience, when you did it for the first time, what do you feel that actually changed, or how did the medicine actually integrate itself within you?
Mhm. Um, it was profound. It was, um, it's even hard to articulate, the experiences that I had, because my experiences, I'm blessed to have a strong connection with the spirit realm initially before I even started with the medicine. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but I was literally so open at that point. I was just in a place of surrender because I also I watched a lot of documentaries. I did my research, which is comical to me now because that doesn't even depict, because the medicine gives you exactly what you need individually, not what you're watching everyone else's experiences with.
Mm.
Um, I had literally in my first, so the place that I went, we drank Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it was like a build up, right? And so like I saw sacred geometry. I'm a very visionary person anyway, so it was a lot of visions for me. I went into past lives. I went into energetic surgeries. I mean, it was literally impactful from the very first ceremony. My life started changing so much so that was in March. So going back to your question, or your statement earlier about hearing the call. So I come back home, and like literally within 3 weeks, I heard the call. You have to come back. And so I went back in June. I went for another week, and then literally home for 2 months, heard the call again, and then went back in November. So experienced 12 ceremonies in 1 year,
Wow.
so yeah. And I was just getting started. Like it was just like, I'm like, holy smokes, the girl that said hard no, who's never touched anything. And then literally it was life changing. Every experience has been life changing for me.
Okay,
Can
I'm just gonna ask
you?
one more question. Sorry,
Oh yeah,
Susie,
no worries.
I'm talking the show right now.
Not at all. Not at all. You're experienced in this more than I am. So
Um, do you feel that your fears, okay, are what stopped you from going? Because and not only your fears, sorry, uh, you had some kind of a control. You kind of like to control your environment so that you don't feel vulnerable, and that's why you did not hear the call. And when you went into your first or second experience, what happened to this? Uh, I'm talking out of experience from myself. I'm a control freak myself.
Yeah,
That
likewise.
I won't let myself go in terms of drinking alcohol or smoking funny stuff. Never done them. It was my first time through an ayahuasca, and that was huge for me to say. Like when I told people, they say, "You did that?" It's like that's impossible.
Mhm.
But what happened when you took it? Did anything change in terms of your controlling your life per se, or fears? Or I'd like to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, that's such a good question. So much so that I have a tattoo image of surrender on my arm, because like literally, I did not know that I was a control freak to the degree that I was a control freak until I sat with the medicine. Um, this is a pretty big one. So hopefully if you need me to stop talking about this, I'll stop talking about it. But literally I had an egoic death. That is how profound it was in order for me to let go. And literally that wasn't pleasant for me. I'm just going to be super honest with you. And so I needed help moving through that experience with a helper at the retreat center, because my experience was very, my first experience was all about cleaning. So she was cleaning my body, like on so many different levels. And then I saw so many beautiful things, like so many pintas, and it was all yummy, sacred geometry. It was just like so good. And then it got dark. And then it was just like, oh, what is this? And she goes, we're moving into your fears now. And I'm like, and like when you go into the medicine, for me, this is just for me, because everyone has a different experience. She's like, we're going to go head on. And I'm like, I don't want to go head on. And she goes, we're either going to move through this or we're not. And if you don't move through this, it's going to be painful for you. It's going to be hard. And I'm like, but I don't want to. And then everything got really dark and black. And she's like, go get help. And I'm like, oh, like it's just kind of like, because you're fighting yourself. I was fighting myself, the control. And so I went and got help, and I said, I think I'm going to die. And then the medicine said, there's fear number one, your fear of death.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh heavens. And I'm like, am I going to die? Like, I'm talking to the helper, because you're aware of what's going on. You can have conversation and things like this. And I think I'm going to die. Like, can you hold my hand? I think I'm going to die. And she goes, okay, let me go get the shaman for you, And I'm just like, oh, now then the fear was of, I'm going to die, and they're going to celebrate me because I'm going to die and I'm never coming back. So like all of these things were like unraveling like in real time. And so she held my hand, and I still remember her. I still have conversation with her to this day, because she made such an impact on my life. Because as you're going through an egoic death, it's pretty traumatic. Like, it was traumatic for me. And so needless to say, I didn't die. But after I moved through that and surrendered, and finally, there's multiple layers of surrender. And yes, there's multiple layers of surrender. When you think that you're surrendering, there's more layers of surrender. And so when I got through that, so I had 10 consecutive egoic deaths literally in 2 seconds. And so the moment that I let go of the first one, I'm like, oh, hallelujah, we're done. And she goes, no, we're not done. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that just took me all this energy. She goes, if you need to go get help now again, or you just start to trust me. And that was the thing. I had trust issues. There was the start. And so that was the big unraveling, is trust. And she goes, you either start trusting me or you go get help again. And I'm like, I'm going to trust you. And then I had 9 more egoic deaths in 2 seconds. And then euphoria hit. Like, literally, it was, wow, like, this is the best thing ever. Like, literally, I could breathe cleaner. I filled with so much love that I didn't even know what love was. So much gratitude, like, literally, like the heavens opened. And so that was the first part of control, and that was ceremony number 3 is when that started. Yeah.
I'm going to have to get you to back up, because I've never had an experience like that. So I've got about 700 questions. So, so it just sounds to me like, when you talk about when you take it and you I guess you go on a sort of a journey with it within your own psyche, like it's a journey into your own shadow aspects, I suppose, is it? Or is into, when you talk about going into the darker part, is it the darker part, the deeper aspect of your psyche, like the parts that you don't normally get to touch on a day-to-day, or maybe it happens in a dream state or something? I study a lot about higher states of consciousness, so I'm trying to feel kind of what state of consciousness are you in, because you are aware and awake and alert while it's happening. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it's almost like a split in the consciousness, that you're having a conversation with somebody who's supporting you whilst this other experience is ongoing in your psyche. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair, analogy of it. And so it's the shadow, it's the wound, it's the trauma, it's the suppressed, it's the ego. Like it's all of the things that the mind has been protecting you from, or your ego's been protecting you from for lifetimes. That you don't even know that is a wound, that you don't even know that is happening. And so it's our reactions and how we carry on as humans, in a given moment, is a manifestation of our wounds. And so I knew I had trust issues, but not to the degree of that I had trust issues until she pointed all of them out. And so, I've done over 100 now ayahuasca ceremonies, and there's still layers of trust that she's showing me that I still have to clean. And I'm like, how deep is this? And she goes, oh my life, it's lifetimes. It's lifetimes.
Wow.
And wow.
Does it, so like you gave it, we got as far as the 3rd, and then we did a quantum leap to the 100th. I'm like, whoa. Like when you describe it, Avianna, I sort of feel like it's like when you get on a big roller coaster at the fair, and you're kind of buckled in, and you're kind of going along going, yeah, this is going to be fine. But then you kind of get to that top point where you're going to go off the edge. And it's like, like you have got to trust in those scenarios. Like you just have to, because you're not going to get off till you've gone down and up and down and up and whatever. And so as you go through from the 3rd to the 20th to the 40th or whatever, it must get easier, because your mind, your psyche, there's a part of you that does know now, that starts to trust. Like as the trust starts to build, does it get easier to go in, or are you always kind of getting another kind of a blindside? Wow, I didn't see this one coming.
That's it.
Okay.
It. Like it doesn't. I was hoping it would get easier. It hasn't for me. It has not gotten easier. There's another angle. There's another lens. There's another facet that she shows you that you're like, where in the world did that come from? It goes to show me how magnificent the soul is. This is not a one and done experience. It's not just Earth. There are many dimensions, many universes that we travel. We may have come as an element. We may have come as a plant. We may have come as an animal. Like we get shown where those origins are. And that's the beauty of the medicine. And then she just eloquently starts tying them all in a bow, and showing how everything is laid out in this order, why you're experiencing this. Like she showed me about my accident breaking my femur. She showed me about it. She showed me like why, like all of the things. And so she showed me past life stuff. She showed me stuff with my family. She showed me stuff with my lineage. I knew in 4th grade that I was not going to have children. I knew it. Like I came home from school and I said, hey, guess what, Mom? I'm not having children. She goes, well, you're kind of young to be terminating that right now, but we'll see what happens. And I'm like, no, I'm never having children. And so the medicine brought that up. She goes, the reason you didn't have children in this lifetime is because you're here to clean your lineage. You're not passing anything down. And here I am thinking, I have a great life. I don't have any trauma and any wounds. And she showed me all of them on both sides of my family, that both sides of my family never discussed.
Wow.
So it was true. Like she's like, I went and started having conversations with my family, and I'm like, what is this? Like, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't talk about that. I'm like, So
like, you said earlier that I think you said before we went live that one medicine experience is equivalent of about 10 years of talk therapy. Is that what you said? So like, is it like opening a massive can of worms? And what's the integration process then? Like, so you've opened something, you can't put it back in. How do you integrate that? Like after the medicine, when you go back to Michigan or you go back home, like what happens then? How, how are you supported in that part of the journey?
That's I in my opinion, and Ramsey, you can tell me this about, yours. I feel integration is probably even more important than doing the medicine. You have to have a support team, because there's a lot of answered questions when you do medicine, but there's still a lot of things that haven't been fully uncovered. Still to this day, I mean, after as many medicine ceremonies that I've had, over Easter, something happened and I'm like, my jaw hit the floor. And I'm like, I had no clue. The medicine didn't show me this in any ceremony. It was meant for me to see outside of ceremony. But all the ceremonies of healing led me to be able to see this. And so it was like, holy smokes. It was just like mind blowing. There's no way I would have never, ever, ever, ever been able to see what I was able to see just a couple weeks ago, if I hadn't done the medicine, which is allowing me to heal on a deeper level that I never thought possible. So it's kind of like it's a great analogy, and I know this analogy has been used so much. It's like peeling an onion, but the onion is never ending. It's like literally, because it's the soul. The soul is infinite.
And is it in? Sorry, I'll just let you jump in after me. So I'm imagining the onion is peeling. You're having your own experiences, but obviously, I know from what you've told me is that you're back. You work there. You work with people now, and you assist people on their journeys too. And is that part of your integration? Do you think when you're on the other side, when you're helping other people? Is that part of your soul journey, or is it part of your integration? Like, how does that support you? I guess it supports you too.
Yeah, it absolutely supports, because, you're helping. The gift now is ultimate service. The people that decide to go in and do the medicine to completely crack wide open and do their own healing. It's brave, it's courageous. A lot of people will never do it. And so I just have the utmost respect for people who are coming in that want to do this medicine, because personal opinion, I've seen, so many people change, like literally life-changing healings and experiences in 1 week. And their lives will continually be altered forever for the good. And so that brings me so much joy. Like I get so excited that I'm able to witness that.
So here's one thing. I just wanted to go back to my thought, and I had a question for now, but I'm going to forget it. Do you, first of all, you said you go in and you talk to it and it shows you and stuff like that. What do you mean by talking to it? It's just from a person that never experienced that. Who are you talking to, and what are you seeing?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you seeing that? Is it through visions, or do you feel like you've been transported into a different place? How does that work out based on your experience?
Yeah, on my personal experience, because again, everyone has different experiences. So for me, the consultas are direct dialogue with the medicine and your higher self, and or your higher self, however you want to translate that. So like literally you're communicating in conversation through like telepathy. You feel it, you see it. And literally the medicine gives you assignments. Like, so when I'm done with ceremony, there's just like, okay, you're going to do this, this, and this, and you can either do it or not. And I do them, and I follow through with everything that she asked me to do, because I now trust her. Because I know that no matter how difficult or whatever darkness that I see, or whatever anything that comes up that I'm afraid of, I know the intention of the medicine is to heal me. She's not intended to hurt me. Her only intention is to heal me, and I trust her. So like no matter how difficult it becomes, I always have to keep telling myself that. Because sometimes you come face to face with your own fear, and your own fear will stop you. Just like
Yeah.
my own resistance tried to stop me from even experiencing the medicine. Yeah.
To follow up, when you're after you did your 1, 2, or 3, or whichever number it is, afterwards, do you feel like you? And I'm going to use the matrix as an example. Do you feel like you're in a matrix whereby you can walk into certain places and adjust certain things?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know it sounds a bit off, but to the
Yeah.
listeners,
I think that the way that I will describe that is once you see behind the curtain, you can never unsee what's behind the curtain. And so like literally, and I think that that's really where, when you have a community that you build relationship with, that are in the groups that you go with, that's also very important, because you can have these kind of crazy conversations that, maybe not the outside world will understand, because they think that you've lost your mind, and so people who are in the medicine community, like, you can have these crazy conversations of like, hey, what did your surgeon look like? Mine had like a spring for a head in one eye. And they're like, oh yeah, I saw that person too, or that entity, or that too. And they're like, oh my God, you saw that one too? Like, yeah, we saw it. So I mean, you're just kind of like, what is happening? But these are the kind of conversations, and it's crazy because there's themes that go on with the groups that go, because they're either we're all trying to heal the same thing, or we all have some health issues that we're working on. So it's quite magical. We call that synchronicity right here. And but it's on a whole nother level when you do the medicine, so it's so big that the mind can't even touch what's happening in ceremony. And that's what's so crazy cool at the same time. It's one of the reasons why I keep going in, is because I know I'm healing. I don't know if we talked about this in the beginning, but this is quite fascinating. So my mom has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I'm an only child, so I'm the person who looks after all of her affairs. And interestingly enough, this all it started percolating right before I left to go to Costa Rica. So much so that she broke her hip 3 days before I was getting on the plane. And, thank bless my husband, who is a huge supporter of the medicine. And he's like, I don't care what you do, but you are getting on that plane if I have to drive you to Costa Rica. And I'm like, but all of this, my mom now needs surgery, and like all of things. So there were so many delays and issues. And I had a backup team, in place for when I was leaving. And this is also the testing that the medicine gives you before you go. She will put every roadblock in front of you to see how serious you are about ready to be healed, because she's gonna put everything in front of you. And so she still does that to this day. She's still like, you don't really know how deep doubt is, or lack of trust is, until you start coming face to face with these things, and then you have these epiphanies that happen. One of the things about going and doing all of my readings, and I lost track of who I was, and in like my first week doing the medicine, she said, and I still to this day, because she made me repeat it like probably 1,000 times that week. She goes, repeat this, repeat it. And she said to me, Avianna, never, ever sacrifice your own healing for the benefit of others. And that, like, literally was a game changer for me and how I now live my life. I never sacrifice my healing for anyone else. And we tend to do that here as humans. We put us on the back burner of everything. But, healed people heal people. And none of us are going to heal until we start taking responsibility and start healing ourselves. So from that time, and she still checks me. She goes, do you still remember it? Like, she'll still check in with me. Tell me again. I'm like, I got it, sister. Like, I got it. Like, I got it. And so she'll bring that back around, many, many times. So I've really had to implement that with my mom, right? My mom, only child, taking care of her. She goes, no. You're going to take care of yourself, because when you do, you help heal her. And that is a concept that we just don't, because guilt and shame and all of the stuff started coming up. And so I've had to live with that or work through that. That's my most recent ones, is that, oh, I'm a horrible daughter. Well, actually, I'm a really good daughter, because I'm healing myself, which is in turn healing her,
Wow.
Yeah. So it's profound.
It really
I
is
know,
like
Susie, you have a million questions, so I'm gonna
I
leave the
know I
mic to you
do.
now. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sort of inspired as well, because I remember when my dad had Alzheimer's. I know when he passed, you were the first person I contacted at the time, Avianna. I think you were in Hawaii or something at the time, but and it's a really interesting experience to go through when a loved one is going through like Alzheimer's. It just changes the whole dynamic. And I was really curious about that. When you come back from your own, obviously very profound experiences of healing, and then go visit with your mom, did you find that it changed that relationship between you and her, like in a really positive, in a very healthy way? Like, obviously she sees you, and you're vibrant, and you're vital, and you're doing really, really well, which is obviously all she ever will want in her life for
Right.
you. So, how does that really, do you feel like some of the work that you were doing on yourself was collective? Well, obviously it was collective, and she's part of your lineage, I guess. Is that how you would frame that, or how would you?
Yeah, and like when I traveled to Colombia to do ayahuasca, that was in one of my journeys. I didn't black out. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't remember what I was doing. And so I'll share this piece of it. When those ceremonies, they're all night. You don't they're very, very long, and they're very deep ceremonies. And so when I came to the next day, I saw this pile of things next to my mattress, and I'm like, not quite sure, or sweatshirts, blankets, socks. And the girl who went with me, she was like, wow, you were on a gallivant last night. She goes, you were walking all over the Maloka, picking up stuff, and I was like taking it all to my mattress. And so the next morning, people were looking for their stuff, and I had it. And so I don't remember any of this. So like literally the medicine took me offline, but I was up meandering. So I took a nap and I rested, and I said, what was that about? Because it was very kind of like surreal, because I couldn't gauge what was going on. And she said, welcome to Alzheimer's. You just got a first-hand glimpse of what it is to be your mother. Now you can have compassion for her. Now you can relate to her. Now you can understand in one night what an Alzheimer's patient has. And that, like, literally so emotional, like took my breath away. And interestingly enough, my mom at the time, she was picking up things from she's in a care facility. She was taking other people's stuff. So I was literally mimicking her behavior that she was having at that moment in her care facility. So that was profound. So now I know firsthand what that feels like, to have that disease. And not only is it now, I've detached from that, meaning that is my mom's experience. It doesn't have to be mine. I can honor and respect the space and the experience that she's in for her life, because this is part of her journey. But I also know it will not be part of mine. So literally, because we all have different paths, like that is my mom's. And there's a lot of correlation, from my study and from my journeys, that Alzheimer's can be related to some sort of sexual abuse. My mom spoke nothing of it, but it's in her lineage. So like, and so I cleared that out. I'm clearing that out for her. So the healing that's happening for me and my mom and her lineage doesn't mean that she's going to stay here longer in the physical form. It means that when her ease and her departure will be, if she chooses, a little bit more gentle, and she'll have less to clean up in the afterlife because of what I've been doing to assist in that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
Was that
phenomenal.
this year? Was that this year?
Yes.
January?
It was, so I went to Colombia in November, but literally there's more that we were speaking on integration. More of that came up just literally Easter Sunday. So like it's opening on a whole nother level that is continuing to still open.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped and I said something because I had that experience in January. I don't forget anything, I don't lose anything. And for 4 days, I was not here, to a point where I got on the flight. I put my passport on a thing on the plane. It was just like a little shelf, and I walked away.
Mm.
And then 2 minutes later, I would go, "Where is it?" Going through my bag, through my pockets, and then I started going back to see if it's on the floor, and I found it where I left it. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's the same experience I had to go through for,
Yeah.
I say, at least a week.
Yeah. Yeah. You're clearing lineages, you know, and you don't even know, what's going on until the medicine starts speaking to you that like, oh, got it. Like, okay, got it. It's profound. Profound.
Can I ask you just to clarify something for me? So I love the interaction you have between you and her, or she, or the medicine. You know, she feels very, from how you've described her, she feels very like loving and compassionate, and you know that she's. I get this feeling of being held. But when you're hearing the messages like that, is it happening sometimes outside of the ceremony? Obviously, is it happening like she's in you? She's kind of expressing through you. So you're back home, or you're in the care home visiting your mom, or you're with your husband or something. Are those messages? Is that information just streaming through, whether you're awake or asleep or abroad or at home? Like, is that how that works?
Yeah, I have chosen to be to build relationship with this medicine. She's the grandmother. So the best way to do, she is the grandmother of the jungle of the medicine. And so she's very gentle and loving, but come on, let's get to work. You know, so she's very direct. She's very, very direct. And which is why she allows you to go through some ceremonies that can be a little tumultuous. But then it's those things that you say, okay, the intention is only to heal. I do have to preface this, though. I must preface this. Your container, the person leading your ceremony, is ridiculously important. Like ridiculously important.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who have not good experiences because the container is toxic, or some person who's not qualified to lead is leading. Do your research. Like, do your research for sure.
I have to jump in on this one. What you just said, it's extremely, extremely, extremely important. It's beyond important. It's not like you're buying a piece of cloth when you're doing that. You have to make sure that the shaman is true, or the person that is leading is true and pure. Because what happens, and I don't know about your experience, and maybe we can dig deeper into it. You leave your body. Your spirit leaves. You have an empty vessel that is sitting on the side. If the person that is leading is not properly containing the energy within the area that it's being done in, things could go wrong, and people could have how am I going to say it without sounding like really bad, but they might have a negative experience and it might not flow properly, or they might feel out of body, and certain things might like physically, on a physical side, may not be well aligned. And the minute you said that, it just clicked that I have to repeat it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Susie,
No.
go ahead. It's yours. Yeah.
No, well, that was actually, it's a really good segue, because that was where I was going next. Because, you know, it's great to hear both of your experiences, and you're here to share it. And it was clearly a very uplifting, expanded experience. But when you were both going through yours, did you witness other people along at the same time who may not have been able to surrender, or may not have been able to trust, and who may have been just, scared and wanted to kind of shut it all down? Because, I'm guessing that it's not 100% always the same for everybody. Like you said early on, everybody is so different. Like, so is there a bad trip, for want of a better word?
Yes, there are bad trips, unfortunately, and that's because of the container, or the person leading, or not good medicine. Like you have to make sure that the medicine is resourced appropriately. Also, too, if you're not doing a dieta prior to doing the medicine, there are certain protocols that must be followed. As far as medications that you're currently on, it is ridiculously important that you have a protocol that you're following, because certain medications you cannot do the medicine, and then you can have a serotonin syndrome, where literally it's a thing. And this is why I think so many people are judging the medicine because of the bad trips. Well, it's more than likely because you didn't have the appropriate person leading, or the location, or the medicine, or you didn't follow the protocol. So it's kind of like going into the hospital and going in for surgery. It's that important when you go do the medicine. It's that important. Yeah.
One more thing I found is that if the person does not surrender and their control freaks, I can speak about myself, it won't work. That's where you would have a conflict. And it's very hard on the person's body, and also hard on their mental state, because there's an infighting kind of thing. There's a resistance within, and one of them has to win. And sometimes, because you're so closed, that after a while your body just let go, but you won't get the benefit of it. It's just it pushes you away from the plant.
100%. That's perfectly said, and that is true. Like, if you fight, somebody has to win. Either the medicine's going to win, or your ego is going to win. And literally, and if you fight the medicine, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
Wow. Because you were saying earlier, before we went live as well, when I was asking you that I was wondering, were you still doing the readings, the psychic readings? And because I know you used to be booked out years in advance with that one, but you were telling me about consultas. So it's really, from what you said, it's readings with ayahuasca, and that there was 3 or 4 experiences that can happen. So is that like a pre-medicine or pre-ritual experience? Would somebody connect with you and do a consulta just to kind of make the initial connection, or is there no particular format for that?
Yeah, there's no particular format. I think that if people are thinking about doing the medicine and they have questions, by all means reach out. But there's usually, if you're going to do medicine at a retreat center, things like that, they have those people there on staff to do that. That should be part of your package. But a pre application process and an integration process is incredibly important. It just makes things go much easier. What I'm providing is literally another word for readings, but now, instead of with my sessions that I did before, it was just connecting to your spirit guides and seeing energies that have passed that come through. That's not my guidance is now Mother Ayahuasca, Grandmother Ayahuasca. I channel her, she comes in. And so like literally people who have had consultants with me now versus before, they're like, wow, you're a bit direct now. And I'm like, that's the medicine, because it's not like, I'll say it this way. The medicine is directed, not that we're running out of time, but do you want to get down to business and clear things out? Or do you just want a bunch of Band-Aids? I'm not the Band-Aid girl. I'm the girl who's going to help you get to the next space. And so, and that's because I've had so many sessions with the medicine, is because now it's about like being a bit more direct, not mean, but it's enough Band-Aids. Let's get to work.
And does it change your overall view, Avianna? Like, how has your own kind of perspective shifted, since 2021 when you did that, and up to now? Like, a lot has happened in the world, in America in particular. Like, so does she help you navigate these challenging times?
Yeah.
Is it nice to walk with her? I guess it is.
Oh my goodness. I'm so much more at peace. I'm not a control freak like I was. I trust in the bigger plan. I trust in the bigger plan. And so I'm more compassionate with my mom. And I've always had a good relationship with my mom, but I now understand more. I can hold space for my mom without me getting frustrated. And, it's having my mom in a care facility, at least in America. A lot of people don't do that. They care give, and their lives and their health are expensed at that. I'm also advocating for people who are caregivers because they feel so much guilt and shame that they can't ask for help. And it's not about not being a good person or a good family member. There's things that we can do, and there's things that we shouldn't be doing, that there are more qualified people to take care of my mom. And I can be now present with her as a daughter and make sure my relationship stands with her instead of me frustrated and exhausted and wiped out. So like it's a whole different, I'm living my life very, very differently than I did before.
Wow.
We're getting close to the hour. I'm sure there's more questions that are going to come up. There are people that might want to know more about you. Where can they find you? I know I have the Instagram thing, banner going at the bottom, or they can check your website at aviannacastro.com.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, my website, if you go right to my website, so I'm just launching a brand new newsletter, and it's launching on May 5th. So just in a few days. So Instagram, Facebook, you can send me messages there. Avianna Castro at gmail.com. You can, put the title of this podcast here if you have any particular questions. And there's several ways to reach out to me, if needed.
Okay. And listen, I have we can go on for a couple of days talking about the plant medicine, but we'd love to have you another time, because you do more than that. It's not the only thing that you do.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you do within your holistic, if you want to call it, or spiritual world that you bring into this space?
Yeah, I'm doing the consultas. I am leading meditations here in Michigan, but I'm open to travel. I travel quite a bit, and I'm up for more medicine. So like literally, my path right now is medicine inspired. So I'm doing a lot of things, but it's all medicine inspired right now. So I'm advocating for a lot of different things, but meditation, the consultas. I have a medicine inspired bracelet line coming out, candle line coming out, incense line coming out. Like literally, I'm partnered with a lot of things right now, and it's just getting ready to open up. It's exciting.
That's awesome. Susie, you have anything else before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was reading part of your website, and are you getting sort of like regular downloads now, or are you picking up on things that are for the collective as well? Are you going to be transmitting those sort of messages?
Yes, and that's going to be in my newsletter. So like literally it's very interesting because she's been awakening me. Like, so I was up at 3 a.m. this morning transmitting. So like literally it's happening very, very, very frequently. But also May is one of my favorite months. May is the energy of change. So it's the 5. 5 is the energy of change. So this is a big month for all of us. But we have to be open to shifting and changing. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and it starts with us. So if you hear those whispers and those little nudges, it's time to start paying attention to them, and get off the news and get out in nature. Like get away.
Yay.
Get out in
Yeah.
nature. Yeah.
I think that's a great message to sign off on. Get off the news and get out on nature. From the bottom of my heart, I've always loved you from the first day I've met you, Avianna. You're an absolute treasure. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful, and I can't wait to keep following your incredible journey and listening to more that's coming out of your channels as well, like for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you again to go deeper into the ayahuasca stuff.
I
There's
would
more
love
to talk about. Thank you to all our listeners, and we'll see you next week.